So hello there guys, hi and welcome back to my channel. I really hope that you're all doing really well. Thank you so much. I just want to start with, I'm just going to say thank you to all my new subscribers, new watchers. Thank you so much for being with me, taking an interest in my channel, enjoying what I've been trying to do with it. But today is going to be a little bit different. It's just something I really want to share with you. So I really hope that you enjoy this video. When I initially started doing this video, I really wanted to just focus on the BellePoque era and what was happening in France at the time, social change and what the BellePoque meant. And since I've been doing this video, it's kind of turned into an exploration into French history and how certain events, big events in French history has challenged and changed social and cultural values, and how principles have had a tension, you know, the tension between science and faith, and how that's kind of created the world that we live in today. So it's turned into a big, huge video. So what I've done is I've just cut it into some segments, so that it's more manageable and that it's more enjoyable maybe to watch. Otherwise, I'm going to be giving you guys quite a long video, over an hour or something. So I'm still editing it and working on it as I'm going through it, because it's a bit of a monster video. But I'm really enjoying doing it. I was thinking, am I doing the right thing doing this? And then I thought, yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and it will be what it will be. I'm just putting my heart into it. So I really hope that you enjoy it. And yes, so watch this video to the end, because there will be a part 2 and then a part 3 and a part 4 probably a part 5. So here we go, enjoy. So yes, today I am inspired to just take a moment to dedicate a video to the BellePoque era. And so what does the BellePoque mean? Well, basically a direct translation just means the beautiful times, the beautiful era. And so it was like a golden era of the time in France. And this golden age was during the Third Republic in France. And the BellePoque was a term that was created by a French author, historian in crime during the the late 50s, 60s. So he would have been a child, you know, or a post-war child, I guess. And his name was Dominique Khalifa. And he created this philosophical, ideological concept of the BellePoque. So it was very much referencing a time in France that was full of optimism and wonder, and a time of great times of positivity. And I believe that he created this concept as a way of looking back and reflecting upon the times of the 1800s, after the Grande Guerre. So after all the very hard times of World War II, it was a way of looking back and reflecting upon those wonderful times that were being lived and experienced in France after such extreme, difficult times. So this is a time of Western, French, European history, and this golden age referred to the looking back of the years between 1870 and 1914. And so you can see this was a time, an era after the Renaissance. So yes, the Renaissance started around the 14th century through to around the 17th century, up until, I suppose, the French Revolution. Science was starting to separate religion from art. So we can really see that actually, yes, within art and literature and things like that, and music, also, you know, within fashion, we can start to see that this was an era of change. There was definitely things, important things happening. And it really makes me think of going back to the time of the 14th, yes, the late 14th, 15th century, and Francois De Pomier, you know, the King of France. During the Tudor times in England, Francois De Pomier was, you know, King of France. And King Henry VIII and Francois I, they were actually rivals, but also they were like brothers, you know, they loved each other, they hated each other, always in competition with each other. And but King Francois de Pomier, he wasn't actually really interested in battles and things like that. He loved hunting, and he had a beautiful life of just going out hunting and having fun. He was that kind of king. And but he really wanted to learn. He was a king that was very thirsty and hungry for knowledge, and he was an intellect, really. That's what interested him, was learning more about the sciences. And so he became very, very fond of Leonardo da Vinci during this time. And so much so, I mean, he spent so much time with Leonardo da Vinci. He even gave him one of the properties on his castle grounds, so that when he was with him, he had somewhere to live, and so that he was comfortable and he had everything that he needed. And he had a huge love for him. He looked up to him as a father figure. And Leonardo da Vinci, as we know, he was a great artist, although he only produced very few paintings, not many. I think it was about 15 or 16. Don't take me on my word for that. But many of them weren't even finished, many of his portraits and paintings. But Francois de Pomier was more interested in his scientific knowledge, and because Leonardo was so much more than just an artist, he was a scientist, he was a genius in his own right, he was an inventor, he was also looking into anatomy, biology, understanding, yes, the human anatomy. So secretly, I mean, he was actually dissecting bodies and to understand anatomy, and more to expand on the knowledge of the medical world. He was, you know, doing all these technical medical research and drawings that he was doing that are still much regarded within the medical world today. So he had huge contributions towards us understanding science and improving medicine. So, you know, I'm no specialist on this, but I know that Francois de Pomier really looked up to him, and he was very, very fascinated and interested with everything that he said and did. And so he loved him so much and spent so much time with him that actually Leonardo da Vinci, eventually he moved in onto the grounds with Francois de Pomier, and he spent the last days of his life there, the last years of his life there, and died in Francois de Pomier's arms. So I find that just a fascinating story. And, you know, Leonardo da Vinci is to thank for the Chateaux de Chambord. So it's taken me all the way back, historically, back to the times that France has lived through, the revolution of 1789 to 1799. Yes, so the revolution was a social political shift of reform and also of restructuring society, just as we have today, actually, something very similar going on. And the social political instability and incoherence is a natural side effect of these kind of times. Yeah, you know, it just makes me think of, you know, Victor Hugo, Rousseau, and pauvre petit Gavroche, you know, the little Gavroche who gets, the little boy who gets shot during the Revolution, very famous moment in French history. That really does, it's very emotional, and it obviously, you know, just it still brings tears to my eyes when I watch things like that, like The Misérables or something. You know, it's just so powerful and raw, and yeah, it's just the whole upheaval and of social change, and you know, human reaction, and when, you know, human beings come together and they've made a decision, you can see that they're just so much more powerful than the elites and any hierarchy above them. In fact, it's the people that are in control. And I mean, these times, yeah, I certainly do think about also a bit later on towards the 16th century, the 15th, 16th, and Marie-Antoinette, and the beautiful Austrian princess who was so naive, and she naively came to France and married Louis the 16th, and you know, she was one of the youngest daughters of this wealthy Austrian family, very young, naive. She arrived in France and she had to basically just shed all of her Austrian culture. She was stripped of all her everything that she had, her clothes, all her jewelry, her hair, and she was transformed into this French queen, and she, you know, with French fashion, and she was marrying the King of France, you know. So this was a complete culture shock for Marie-Antoinette, and you know, she had been living in Austria until then, you know, with very freely, and being surrounded by many sisters that she had. She had lots of siblings. She was the youngest. She had all famous musicians around her. She was having a great time. And actually Mozart had his eye on her. He was very fond of her. I think he was actually in love with her. And they were very fond of each other. So, you know, if things had been different, she may have even married him. But her destiny was not supposed to be that way. And she married the King of France. And, you know, I think that she was extremely unlucky. Lucky in some ways, but yeah, the way things turned out and the way that France was evolving and changing with, you know, the scientific world filtering through the rest of society. And it was a time of social change and, you know, instability. There was extreme social instability, political instabilities were going on. And by the time she got to the point where she was an established, more mature queen, and she had her children, she was actually doing a great job, and she was being a wonderful queen at that point. And by then it was actually just too late, because, you know, things had already come to such a point in France that, you know, her destiny was already determined, and she was going to be on the guillotine. And it's very, very sad, really sad story. And unfortunately, her children didn't get away with their fates either, were tragically ended very early on. and I think one of her children survived and went back to Austria, so one of her daughters. But you can see how the fashion was changing during this time of Marie-Antoinette. You know, the women were being able to dress a little bit more relaxed, with décolletés and lace and pretty bows and frills and makeup and big hair, you know, like the Marie-Antoinette style hair. And they were times of change for sure. And it was a time where people were beginning to be more free and open to think for themselves. So free thinkers, this was a really big time for, yes, you know, people were thinking for themselves and making decisions for themselves. So yeah, I really do find it quite interesting how once human beings have come together in a cohesive manner, with shared values, shared ideas, shared visions, and goals, just how powerful society and communities can be when they kind of come together, and they can stand up against the control, the power and control of the hierarchical system that's in place, and they challenge how they can challenge this and influence it and force things to actually change when they're not working. So it's really quite interesting, especially this day and age. The more people are going to university, the more educated people are becoming, the more aware they're becoming of the political system, so, you know, social political affairs, and people are getting degrees. They're better educated, better than ever, really. So I suppose this is only enforcing our modern society of today to probably be able to do that even better and in a more powerful kind of way, I think. But obviously, as we can see with the French Revolution, this is without as we can see with the French Revolution, this is never without consequences and high costs of life, of stability, social stability, and there's always consequences to these things. And I think we can definitely relate to that today, this day and age, with events that have been going on today. So it's very, very interesting to see the parallels between the past, historical events, and today. And I think it's really good to sort of never forget these very harsh, difficult times of, you know, wars and revolutions that have actually changed the world to make it the way we know it today, and to not look back on it and hold grudges against like things that have happened, and feel resentful and as if we have still unfinished business with history. I don't believe in that. I just think we need to take it as it is, look back on it, learn from it, don't forget it, but learn from it, so that we can actually improve the world that we live in today. And that's what these videos, the core thread throughout the videos that I'm going to be doing, is basically really it's about that. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you if you managed to get through this part 1 series of many different parts that I will be doing. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing to my channel, and thank you also to my new subscribers. I say that every time, but I really do appreciate that immensely. Me and Mark are very thankful. Don't worry, this is a bit of a one-off kind of video that I'd be doing. Well, these are one-offs that I'm going to be doing at the moment. I'm not sure if I'm going to do more like this, So me and Mark will be continuing with our usual videos and updates in our garden and in the house and renovating and adventures and things that we will be doing. So there we go. This is just a little extra, and it wasn't really planned that way, but that's kind of how these videos are going to be put together. And yeah, so I will look forward to seeing you in part 2.